It's a very good day because I am starting something very new here. This is called A Seat at the Table, solo edition. I have a few episodes that I've released, but I wanted to create a space where we can go a little bit deeper and connect on a different level. I feel like the episodes that we have out right now, we've been to Belize, we've been down deep south of Georgia, and we've been to Australia. It's just been a really exciting time because I'm meeting such incredible people, but I need a space that I can come back to that feels like more of a reflection of where I'm at in life. I feel like as a mother, as a woman, as just someone on this planet who wants to do a little bit of good, this is my way of spreading a little good in the world. We're going to be talking about all things life, whether it be something personal I'm going through, whether it be current events, motherhood, things that have helped me along the way. And we're definitely going to go deeper into spirituality because my faith and this journey that I've been on in the last 6 years has been longer, 10 plus years. But, from a physical standpoint with this health journey, it's definitely taught me a lot. And I'm somebody who's just constantly in growth mode. And that's not a bad thing to be in if it's serving you positively. I think we can often get sucked into these patterns of always needing something to work on. But I've realized that there's a difference between stretching yourself every single day and putting yourself out there and going beyond the limits versus always trying to fix yourself. So I'm kind of at the age now where I know who I am, and I am at the age. I am just of the type that likes to dive deep into conversation. I don't like anything surface anymore. And the content that I'm putting out is very surface. So here we are, 2 minutes and 42 seconds in, and I tend to ramble, so I will be much better about that. But I want us to have a space that we can come back to where we can be free to express ourselves and talk all things life and beyond. So let's get started. So I couldn't decide what topic to cover in the beginning because I have so much that I want to talk about. But because it's at the forefront of my brain, and we just wrapped the last day of the semester at one of our co-ops, I'm filled with gratitude this morning. We have taken some big risks this year, and we decided to homeschool our kids on top of moving back out to California. I knew nobody in this space, and it really took a deep amount of self-trust to make this decision. So I want to offer any insight that might help another parent, whether you're thinking of going this route or not. If you're just curious, if you have a little seed inside of you that wants to just explore the idea of it, then it's your job as a parent, as a guardian, to trust those instincts and just explore it. Explore the idea. You can always pivot. There's no rule book in any of this, but I think we have these instincts for a reason. So I want to share kind of our story and how we wound up in this place. So for the last few years, we have thought about homeschooling, but I knew I wanted to work. I knew I wanted to continue to create, and I felt like there wasn't space for both of them, for me to homeschool and also do what I love. And I just started to explore preschools. I would go, when we were living in Atlanta, I would go explore some wonderful places for Vince to go, and Melody eventually. But this was at the time when I had just had Melody, and I was still experiencing strong waves of postpartum, and I needed some balance. And so I was looking at preschools, and every time I would walk in, it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like I was ready, and I decided to tap the brakes. It was when we got back to California that I really started to feel that little whisper get really loud. So we moved back in July, August, and I immediately hit the ground running. Once I knew where we were going to be based, I explored everything from public to private to small co-ops in the area. I looked at literally every school you could think of. And there were a few that I would commit to, and I would go home and I would start the contract process and I would start writing it up, and I would stop halfway through and I would ask myself why I couldn't finish. I couldn't do it. And my sister said to me months into this journey, she was like, sometimes you're not ready, and that's okay. You don't have to, this isn't a requirement. You don't have to get into preschool or TK. You can just, when you're ready, the time will come. Now Vince is 4, Melody is 2. Most kids are in preschool at this age. And it just felt like the next step to take. So I knew I was kind of up against a deadline, because if we wanted to sign up for these preschools, I needed to go ahead and get in the door. And I got to this point where I couldn't make a decision. And if there's anything that I know about myself nowadays, I trust my instincts. I know who I am. I know what I want. I'm a very decisive person. When I'm not decisive, that's when problems arise. And I just know in my heart, there's a reason for something if I'm not committing. If you feel pressure to do something, do not commit. Just press pause and do not sign the paperwork. Don't commit to anything that you're not 100% in. Just trust your instincts and whatever it might be. And I really had to start telling myself that. I decided to get really quiet. I knew if I wasn't going to make a decision, then the decision would be made eventually. So I looked at my husband one day and I said, I really want to explore homeschooling. Let's just give it a shot. And he was like, thank you for saying that, because he was all in. Little did I know he was ready to walk that path. So I decided, great, we're going to homeschool. I kid you not, I got down on my hands and knees and I said a prayer. And I said, God, if this is the decision that we're supposed to make it so easy, make it work, make this the most fun year we've ever had. And if it's not the right decision, then make that clear as well. Like, fully take the reins from me, because I am not in control. I don't feel like I can do this on my own, and I need guidance. A week later, I'm at the park and I am playing with my kids, and I look and I feel like someone is looking at me. Maybe he wasn't, but I felt like this presence that I needed to direct my attention to. And it was someone in the music industry that I just really admire, and I had to walk up to him and introduce myself. And I just walked up and I was like, hey, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just wanted to introduce myself and just say, I love your work, thinking that it was going to be a very quick conversation in passing. And then we were going to go about our day. But we ended up exchanging phone numbers, and he was telling us how he and his wife chose to homeschool. And immediately I just said, I need to talk to your wife. I need to hear what her experience has been, if she has any insight that she can offer. I just knew that I really needed to put myself out there and really push my comfort zone. And I feel like if you are thinking of homeschooling, you have to reach out and ask for guidance. You have to really seek answers. You can't do this on your own. And I knew I wanted to build community. I was texting with her back and forth a little bit, and then a few weeks passed and nothing really happened. And then I texted her one day a few weeks later and I said, I'm sorry to bother again, but I'm just putting myself out there, just seeing if there's anything that you have maybe in your community that we could possibly explore. We're just wanting to meet people in this space, and I just would love to pick your brain if you have any time. She sends me a voice memo right away, and she's like, oh, I forgot to tell you, we're actually starting a farm school tomorrow if you want to come. And I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. Like, yes, like we just immediately committed. And little did I know, she has a property a little bit north of LA. There's animals and there's space for the kids to run around. the doors opened in that moment. Like immediately upon arriving, I was like, this is the right decision. I know this is the right fit for us. Even if this isn't the right community, this is what I want for my kids. I want them to be outside. I want them to be getting their hands dirty, working with the land, gardening, learning about growing vegetables, being with animals, being with other kids, and just being out in nature teaches you so much. I wasn't worried about how it was going to work out. I just knew I needed to put myself out there. And this semester, as a result, has turned into the biggest gift for us because I've watched my kids really lean into the things that they love, which is innately what kids are drawn to, being outside and just following their imaginations. And in the meantime, building that structure within those lines. So every week consistently, we would show up to farm school or we would show up to another co-op. My kids looked forward to that every single week, and building that structure for them, I think, builds confidence. As much as I love the freedom of homeschooling, these kids do need structure and they need boundaries within those structures. So, showing up someplace every single week, finding things that you love and committing to them so you can build that excellence within whatever they're doing. It doesn't have to be excellence, but it has to be a level of curiosity that they are showing up for every single day. So we signed Vince up for jiu-jitsu, we signed him up for soccer, we signed him up for things that are challenging him, getting him around other kids. And I have noticed such a difference in him. His demeanor, like he's so different in every setting. Soccer allows him to get that energy out, have a team sport that he is committed to, being with friends that he's built relationships with, and then jiu-jitsu teaches him to be present and listen and follow direction and trust himself, protect himself in situations that he's going to need to. And I'm learning so much along the way just by watching him. I try not to be on my phone when I'm there. I have time to myself. But if I get off of my phone and I'm sitting there watching him, I learn so much and I'm gaining so much in return. It's just been miraculous. I can't put it into words how much I've gained in making this decision and trusting myself as a mother. I was warned that this probably wouldn't be the right fit. Making the move across the country and putting ourselves in a position of homeschooling without a community, it was a big risk. It was just cutting out the noise and getting very clear about what life I wanted to build for myself and for my kids and for my husband and for our future. I knew this was the right fit, but I didn't know why. And sometimes you don't have to know why. You just need to commit, and then that action delivers clarity. Had I not moved across the country with my family, had I not trusted that instinct, had I not gone to that park that day, I would have never met this beautiful community. And you don't know how long it's gonna, nothing is permanent. It's probably gonna change, it will change, and things will look different this time next year. But you're on the path of alignment when things start to appear. Miracles start to drop out of nowhere. And you look back a year later, or even, 5 months later, we've only been here such a short amount of time. And I'm already looking back going, wow, so much beautiful stuff has just landed in our lap. And what would life look like had I not followed that internal little compass? It's really beautiful when you can get really clear. This time last year looked very different. I was in a very tough spot because I was living in a life that looked okay from the outside. We did the right thing, that just was like what you do. But I knew it wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. And we were living close to family, and it was a very safe position to be in. But sometimes my storage ran out. which is why I need to stop rambling. So I want to offer some guidance. If you are thinking of going down this, if you're just even curious of what homeschooling could look like, I just want to offer some tips to you. Number one, be really easy on yourself. There is no curriculum you have to sign up for right off the bat, especially when your kids are so young. Mine are too young to be worrying about testing and letters and all of these things that we pressure these kids to learn at a certain age. My son actually knows his letters. He knows his uppercase and his lowercase letters, but I don't even want to tell you that because I feel like we shouldn't judge these children off of what they know academically in the beginning. They need to stretch their creativity. They need to push themselves in other areas before they're sitting down at a desk and feeling like they're not smart enough if they can't get something yet. My son is gonna learn differently than my daughter is, and that's what's so beautiful about homeschooling is they learn at their own pace and they show you what they need. One of the best pieces of advice I got, I walked into this library. It was a homeschool library up in Alpharetta, Georgia, and I was greeted by this German man who was a father to I think 7 or 8 kids who were all homeschooled. And I walked in and I was like, "Is this the homeschool library?" He was like, "Yeah." And I immediately burst into tears because I felt like I was making a wrong decision. I didn't know what to expect. I just told him, I was like, "I'm just kind of exploring this idea and I don't want to screw up my kids' future. And I just need some words of advice." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, first of all, bravo to you for being here and just asking the question if this is right for you. But don't worry." He was like, "Your kids are going to show you how they learn. So don't worry about a curriculum. Don't worry about making the right decision right off the bat. Focus on what lights them up. What makes them feel alive? Where do they focus their energy?" And immediately all of the stressors left my body. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be fun." Like that takes the weight off of your shoulders and reminds you that these kids are here to live their own lives. You're their guide, but you don't have to control so much. And that was the biggest moment for me. It was very pivotal to look at this society and realize that what we do that meets societal norms doesn't have to be the only way. This is your reminder. If you're thinking of exploring this route, take the pressure off. The kids will show you what they love. And you get to create any which world they decide they want to create. Like, you get to be involved in the thing that gets them out of bed every morning and lights them up, and you get to be the person that sets the tone for the day. And when you offer that as the way that they're greeted every single morning, they're not focused on fitting in a little box and meeting everyone else's expectations. When you have a classroom setting and everybody's going to be testing, like, these kids just are pressured at such a young age. And my intention in all of this, and I don't want this to come off in any which way, because my nieces and nephews are not homeschooled in traditional schools, and they love their experience and they are thriving. So what's working for them is working for them. That doesn't make it wrong. What my kids are experiencing right now is all they know, and it's all I know. And anything can change in any given year, any given moment. And if they tell me one day that they want to try traditional school, they can do that. This isn't like a thing where we're just, going against society and being those type of people. I want them to understand that they have say in their future. They have say in how they want to show up in their lives. So I wrote down some key points. Trust your instincts. What you put out is what you get back. Be easy on yourself. Create structure, because when you create structure, You are putting them in an environment where they have to show consistency. And when you show consistency, that builds confidence and that builds trust within themselves. And that's very important. You can't just float through life without something to show up for. Don't worry about being behind. If you are seeing your child develop at a different rate than another child, nothing is wrong with them. They are perfect the way they are. These kids are analyzed and they're placed with labels. I was somebody who learned differently than others. I had a learning difficulty, processing difficulty is what they labeled it as. And I remember at a young age having headphones on and listening for beeps on either side and being tested for certain things that I felt like made me different and made me special and not in a positive way. And it's really important that we don't make our kids feel that. They need to know that they develop at their own rate and it is right on time. So if your child doesn't read at a specific age, nothing's wrong with them. They will get it when they need to get it. Make it fun. Whatever it is that they're learning, make it fun. Have structure in your days and get creative. My kid loves trains. So we'll do the letter train and we'll go outside and we will create imaginative games that really push him to want to learn something. I don't want my child to ever feel like he is not as good as anybody else because of his academics. So it's amazing what happens when we put these kids in an environment where they thrive. They want to learn more. They want to give more energy to it. And there's a lot of beauty in that. So that's the freedom that homeschooling creates. I know I've touched on some things and maybe I haven't gone deep enough. I could talk all day about this because there's so many different reasons we decided to homeschool. But I just want to share that insight and share our story because it's one of the best decisions we've ever made. And look, like I said, this time next year, we can make a completely different decision. But right now, life is beautiful. We did not place limits on ourselves. We just said, this is what we want to build and let's see what God can provide. And out of that came exactly what we had hoped for, if not better. So if you have any questions about homeschooling, please reach out to me. I have been there where I don't even know where to begin. I felt judgment. I felt like a little bit of just this weird energy around, and I think community is very important. Another great way to build community is to reach out on Facebook. There's private Facebook groups that offer homeschool meetups in different areas in your city, and just start putting yourself out there and watch what comes back. Anyways, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to go deeper into these conversations, and hopefully I don't get sick of hearing my own voice. All right. Want to try some? I think we're gonna be rich. So they've been fixing it. Okay. It looks good. All you have to do is restamp it. What letter is that? Yeah. Oh, look, he's gonna roll. Look, he's gonna roll. Yeah. He's so happy. Look at that. Yeah, I just watched him. Did you guys hear where the big one comes from? Where? It comes from my country. Another day. Right here, okay? One ride, girlfriend. Look at you go. I know, right? Stay in the middle, okay? Yeah, try to hang out in the middle. There goes brother. How cool is it, dude? It's just like riding on my back, huh? Dancing to the music. Wait, guys.
laid the greasiest, wettest kiss on my face.